everybody. Okay, so for Teaching Tuesday, I thought I'd get on and chat a little bit about comfort, pushing the envelope, autopilot, and all of those things. So humans as a general species, we're kind of lazy. So we like to innovate so that we make things easier for ourselves. And that creates working on technique and working on making things better and finding better ways to do things, which is part of the job of a skating coach, is to find ways to make things better. We also think about the comfort zone of, I've done this way forever, and this person is asking me to change something. Well, if I just do it the way I've been doing it and I just go faster, like I just push harder, I will automatically go faster, right? Because historically, like being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, if I just run faster, I should be able to get away from him, right? That's not always the case. So like you have to work on technique, which is different, which is difficult, which is hard. But then the numbers, when you're doing stuff, or how you get to the net faster, or how you're getting around that other person faster, that's when you're going to start seeing those results. One of the big things that I see is when we're going into a turn, a lot of times we will skate up to the turn and we coast. And then we go into the turn and then we accelerate out of the turn, because we're not comfortable with that edge going into it. Well, if you know that most people are going to coast going into a turn, why wouldn't you just push hard all the way through, right? And just try to, push the envelope a little bit. Like, it feels risky, but if you think about it, you have to do risk to get reward, right? So you have to try things. You have to go out of your comfort zone. You gotta try out for the team. You gotta ask that person out. You gotta start a business. You gotta learn how to drive. You gotta try things. If you don't try things, you'll never know, right? So you can do it one way the rest of your life, but might not be the best way for you. So my Teaching Tuesday is we're going to talk about pushing the envelope. So I'm going to do some drawings and explanations of what I'm talking about. Okay, bye. Okay, so changing technique is not always comfortable. A lot of times we've done it a bazillion years, like, the way we're doing it. And then all of a sudden skating coach is like, oh, you should do it this way because of X. And you're like, but I don't want to do that because that's not comfortable. Great example is crossovers around the end of the rink. Okay, we're going to talk about all three of these things. But the first one, I think the most efficient way around the end of a rink is to go from the hash marks to the top of this, the X right here at the top of the rink, and then down to the hash marks. Okay, so then you can open yourself up, aim towards the X, and then aim towards the hash mark. It's going to make a nice circle, right? So the beginning ones are pretty simple. These are self-explanatory, right? The green ones. And then these are a little uncomfortable in the beginning, and then you get used to doing them, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, I just go all the way around or just push myself through here, right? You got to kind of survive this part. The orange is what I see a lot of times, is where we're skating in and we're like, oh yeah, we got to do crossovers around the end, and then you get right here and all of a sudden you're in a square, and then you're like, or you can even follow this one, but then this part's really uncomfortable and you follow in the circle and then you go back around. If the first person is staying on the circle and you go this way or you fall in the circle, they already beat you. Already. Guaranteed. Okay? Second one we're going to talk about is curves. Going into a curve and how to make sure that we're going to be faster and more efficient. We'll do that in just a second. Okay, now for curves. We're going to explain it down here first, and then we'll talk about this one. Okay? Let's see if you can see this at all. Okay, so when you're going into the curve, right, a lot of times what will happen is someone will be skating to do this big circle right here. They push here, they coast around the top, past the exit of the turn, and then accelerate out. If you're coasting, somebody knows you're doing something or not doing something. They're aware that something's going on, right? You gotta rely on the never let them know your next move. That's a great business play, but it's also great in skating, where like, you don't want them to know. You don't give up what your position is, where you're going. It's like a secret, right? You gotta make sure that they don't know, And then they're shocked and surprised. And you're like, and then you like move the other direction. Okay? All right. Sound effects make everything better. Okay, so the second person, the green one, green because it's my favorite color. This person is accelerating into the turn. They're going to survive. Yeah. They're going to survive the top. That's a little tricky. And then they're going to accelerate here on the exit, right? So there's no like downtime. The only downtime is when they're leaning into that edge, right? They're surviving the turn because it's uncomfortable to hit an edge really hard. You're like, you got to lean into it. You're just surviving and then you're accelerating. So instead of waiting until here to do your push to exit, you start pushing as you're exiting the turn all the way up here and coming out. That brings us to this one, okay? Now, when you're doing this one, you're accelerating in, going through here, right? If we apply this information to these, what happens, what I see a lot is someone coasts. They skate up here and then they're going to coast. And then they're going to skate up here and then they're going to kind of push right here and then they're going to coast. And then, right? Instead, you need to be coming in here 900 miles an hour, pushing hard, skating through here, surviving that edge, pushing, right? You want to get to like the halfway point and push on the exit and then put. So every time your foot touches the ice, you should be creating power. Guaranteed. Okay? Always. And if it's not comfortable, like, this is what's so important to me is like trying to get this into everybody. Being efficient, changing things, changing technique. It's not necessarily comfortable, right? So we're used to autopilot. Sometimes we have to think about what we're doing as far as the long-term goal. What is your long-term goal? You want to do something amazing in skating? Now's the time to change the technique of your stride or going into your crossovers or how many pushes are in a crossover and you focusing on what you're doing. Okay? So you got to think about the outcome. Change is not always easy. You gotta try things. You gotta challenge yourself. You gotta see what's your time around the rink. Well, can you make it faster? Can you challenge yourself? See if you can drop a couple seconds off of your time around the rink. Can you push yourselves around the corner of the rink to do those crossovers? Challenge yourself. It goes beyond the rink too. Things that are comfortable might not necessarily be the best way. You gotta challenge yourself. All right. Have a good day. Bye.